So next up, we have a presentation from Tombola Gold with the ticker code TBA, a near-term gold producer with its first gold pour and cash flow expected this year. To tell us more, I'm joined by the chairman and MD, Byron Miles.
Thanks very much, Jane.
I'll bring up your presentation.
Cheers. So when we took this company over 8 months ago, we completely reconfigured the board. The first thing that I did up there was I wanted to find a great geologist. Rod Watt was a real asset to the company. He was in the early days of discovering Ernest Henry. That drilled sort of a dozen holes. He went up there and he drilled out that PFS, so he knows the lay of the land very well, and it was a big asset to get him on board. Trevor Coombs only originally come on board. It was a natural progression as we're moving from a junior explorer into a miner. He has an extensive experience in being a mining engineer. Myself, I've been a specialist in markets for the last 15 years. I'm a big supporter of the company. I've taken part in all the placements. So I've got my own money invested heavily into the stock, and I've supported it on market at all times. As you can see here, we've got a little over 1 billion shares on issue. Our market cap's $34 million, and we've currently got $1.8 million in the bank as of September. Since I came on the board, we've turned over nearly 1 billion shares on the register, so it's changed quite significantly. You'll notice there that for a market cap, circa $30 million, we've got the likes of Ausbil, Terra Capital, big high net worth family offices like Awella who've supported the stock in each raise and continue to support the stock. So we're very fortunate to have a very strong register. We have 2 projects. The one that we're getting up and running right now and that we're going to talk about predominantly is up in Cloncurry, which will be a gold producer this year. We're turning the plan on later this month, but we also have a very unique suite of assets down in South Australia, which is 6,500 square kilometres. Rod Watt also worked underground there for Olympic Dam, so he knows the geology very well down there, and we're very excited about the tenure we have. But first and foremost, we have to get into gold production in Cloncurry, and then we'll go down and drill out our stuff in South Australia later next year. So to give you an idea, we've made a few large advancements this year. When we first took over the company, we were going to be a vat leach operation, but we had an opportunity to buy the Larena CIP plant. We bought it for a great price of $7.3 million, which was less than a fifth of the value of replacement cost. And what that's allowed us to do is to create a processing hub in Cloncurry, and it also saved us CapEx in other areas, but I'll talk about that a little later. When I first came on board, I said I'd pour a gold bar this year. So to do that, we've rented the Great Australian Mill. We've rented that until the 1st of March. We're looking to put 90,000 tonnes through that plant, and it's going to give us extensive cash flow, which is going to put us in a very strong cash position between now and March to allow us to achieve all of our plans in 2023. As you'll see, we've also increased our JORC compliant resources to nearly 200,000 tonnes via the acquisition of the True North tenements of 72,000 ounces of measured resource, which is less than 20 kilometres away from the CIP plant, Larena plant, which we purchased. Our team up at Tombola is mining substantially well, and that's indicated by we're 20% ahead of schedule with 61,000 tonnes of material on the ROM pad at the moment. That's much higher than that actually states now. So we're pretty excited, and we're on track to have our 90,000 tonnes, which we're looking to put through the GAM processing plant between now and the start of March. Also this year, we had some very exciting discoveries in Little Duke and Mount Shearlight. Little Duke is high grade, which is right near our other pits, so that can easily, we'll definitely bring that into JORC compliant resource this year, and that'll extend our life of mine. And Mount Shearlight's really exciting because that's where we believe something much bigger is, and the opportunity lies there, which we'll be drilling this year too once we become cash flow positive. We started haulage over the last couple of weeks to move our stuff from our ROM pad to the Great Australian Mine, just showing progression that we've made in a very short period of time. Obviously, COVID this year, everything makes it just that little bit more difficult, but we have a phenomenal team at Tombola, and it's a real credit to how well they're mining up there. These are the 2 pits which are mining simultaneously, which is allowing us to only use 1 fleet, and having the capabilities to mine 20% ahead of schedule is a real credit to them, as I mentioned. The GAM crushing circuits to the top right and to your bottom left are the vats, which we've optimized now, and we'll be bringing them into production early next year. So everything we've done this year, and we've done a lot, has put us in a really special, unique position for 2023. I think it's going to be a company-making year for Tombola. As I stated, we're going to have cash flow. We turn on the GAM plant at the end of this month, and we'll pour our first gold bar this year. We're going to have substantial cash flow. From that, it's going to allow us to bring the vats into production early next year. So there's going to be continuity of gold supply, and then Lorena will kick into play. Now, to put it into perspective, we were only doing vats when I first took over the project, but the middle of next year, we'll actually have 2 processing operations, which gives us the capabilities to take advantage of and minimize our all-in sustaining costs where we can. This slide basically just shows our continuity gold supply. As you can see, the GAM plant turns on this month. It finishes in March. From there, the vat leach will kick into play, and you'll see Lorena to start our second operation to work concurrently with the vats sort of late June moving forward. I just discussed this one. We could probably skip over this one, Jane. It's just obviously more background as to what we paid. And this is the vat leach operation, which was half built when I already got to the site. It has a very low all-in sustaining cost. As you can see, all the civil construction side of things have been built there. We simply, at the moment, we have to make an order for the plastic to line that first vat. That will turn up in January, and then we'll complete the construction of this project. Now, this Lorena was a really unique opportunity for us. When I first came onto Tombola, I made an offer to purchase it, almost at double the price that I paid for it now. However, we managed to negotiate pretty substantially to buy it for 7.3 million. 5 million of that was vendor financed until the March next year. But what this has really allowed us to do is allowed to treat gold and copper operations. With a vat leach, it can only really treat oxide gold projects, which basically because the cyanide attaches to any copper that gets put in there first, whereas this CIL process, it allows us to float the copper off and has allowed me to take advantage to create a processing hub and buy cheap ounces up there, which we can monetize. This acquisition was only made possible because we bought the Lorena project. As you can see there, it's only 20 k's away from Lorena. We bought this for approximately $3 million. It's got 72,000 ounces of measured and indicated resource that the previous owners had spent quite a lot of money on. They pivoted to copper, so they unloaded some of their gold assets, and we have an opportunity here. It's added 72,000 ounces to our resource, so it's quite a substantial increase, and we can monetize this at a very, very rapid rate. It's on mining leases, it's fully approved, and as I said, it's very close to our processing facility. So it was a big acquisition for Tombola. This was a scoping study which was done in July 2021. This scoping study was only done on the vats, but it just gives you a quick indication as to sort of the cash flows that we can produce. $160 million over 5 years mine life with nearly $80 million profit. As you'll see, that's done on a $2,285 per ounce gold price. Gold price at the moment, even though it has come off this year, is still substantially higher than that. And we've also added the Lorena project, which gives us the opportunity to produce more gold. So I would like to think that we can do better than this. And we're excited to see what that can be improved to in the near future. We've already touched on this one. We've basically increased our resource, but some of the explorations targets that we've had are pretty substantial, but we'll talk about them over the next 2 slides. Now, as you'll see, some of these drill intercepts are pretty phenomenal. 19 meters at 3.5 grams, 18 meters at 5 grams. Now, this was all from Mount Shearlight that you can see in the top left-hand side of your page. We're currently mining Comstock and Shamrock, so you can see it's circa 700 meters away. We've tested 150 meters of this mineralization, and the strike is approximately 700 meters to the north. We'll continue to test this, and at the moment, we've still got results pending from it, and we'll be looking to bring this into our dual compliant resource in 2023. But this is a good slide to talk a little bit about what I guess myself and Rob got excited about. As you'll see, there's several deposits up there, and a lot of those deposits are oxide gold. But if you think of them as the legs of a spider, we've been searching to see where the body of the spider is, i.e. where's the fluid source which is feeding all these deposits. And early this year at Little Duke on the right-hand side of the screen is where we hit massive sulfides. So as you see, as we announced, we had 170 meters of massive of mineralization, some of them being massive sulfides, circa 121 meters at 0.1 gram gold and 0.2 copper, with 68 meters at 1.5 gram gold and 0.5% copper. The really exciting component about this is where we believe is the feeder source, a much bigger system. This is a 3D model of what we hit here. And as I said, once we get cash flow positive, we're going to be in a very unique situation where we've got phenomenal targets that we can produce, but we're going to be self-funded to be able to take full evaluation of these without hopefully without further dilution moving forward. So the reason why we think that this is the much larger play here is it's highly brecciated, it's massive sulfides, it's coming from a much bigger system and a much bigger fluidization, which is feeding these smaller zones. And as soon as we get cash in the bank from our production of our GAN plant, we'll be sending drill rigs up there to have an extensive drill program, which will give us constant news flow and hopefully expand this resource. We think this resource is very, very similar to, well, has the same mineralization, has the same characteristics as Eloise, which AIC own at the moment. That deposit there is a kilometre deep and has been mining for the last 10 years. So to say we're very excited to try and uncover what exactly is happening there is an understatement. We've done some IP, as you can see, some large conducting shapes that are appearing there. This will be coming out to market once this is fully correlated, but it's shown some very great targets. And once again, proving our theory right, that Little Duke is, well, could be the key to the fluidization to the fluid source, which is to a much bigger deposit. Just touching back once again on our South Australian asset, it's 6,500 square kilometres. It's high tenure. It's in a great neighbourhood, as you can see, with Olympic Dam and Carpentaria. Once we become cash flow positive, we'll send a drill rig down there to really start unlocking potential. At the moment, the market's giving us zero value on this, so it would take very little result to try and start adding some value to our market cap and for our shareholders. This is just the highlights. As you can see, we've been extensively busy and we've put Tombola in a really good position to have a massive 2023. We've got imminent gold production starting at the end of this month. We've got continuity gold supply with both the VATs and Larina kicking into play. We'll have 2 operating mines instead of just one, which to do in a very short period of time is a testament to the Tombola team. The binding term sheet, which has been done with True North, has added substantial ounces through acquisition. And as mentioned, with our exploration, we've got 2 phenomenal targets there, which can add easy JORC compliant resources, extend our life of mine, and move forward for Tombola. We've been in various negotiations with debt facilities, and obviously there's been a fair bit of interest in forward purchasing our gold. As everyone knows out there, there's $10 trillion worth of physical gold in the world, but there's $300 trillion worth of paper gold. So at the moment, people are paying $30 to $50 an ounce premium to get their hands on physical gold, to allow them to obviously to forward trade their paper gold themselves. We've got all our core infrastructure in place across the majority of our assets. We're moving forward. We'll be pouring our first gold bar, and we'll be taking that very exciting step forward of going from a junior explorer into a gold producer in less than 12 months. And that's it. Thanks very much for everyone's time, and thanks very much for everyone's support.
Thank you, Byron. Great presentation as always. Quite a few questions in, so let's jump into them. So when do you expect the other True North projects to be converted to JORC resources, which will obviously add further ounces to the inventory?
The 72,000 ounces are JORC compliant resource. They're measured, so they've had a lot of money spent on them. They're very well defined. There is other resources in there at the moment which aren't JORC compliant, which is also very exciting. So for very, very minimal capital, we can go and bring them up to our JORC compliant resource and expand us once again. But until we do that, obviously I can't announce that to market until it is JORC compliant. But yes, the 72,000 ounces are full JORC compliant at the moment.
And also, so when are we likely to know the all-in sustaining costs for gold production?
The all-in sustaining costs across our projects are pretty exciting. Obviously, the VATs are the cheapest. The best way that you can really give the market a good definition of the all-in sustaining cost is obviously when you do your reconcile of your plant, which is, i.e., after a month's production through the GAN plant, we put this many tons through, we've received this many ounces, and we're basically excited to announce that to market. We have done all the work in-house, and we're very excited the profitability that the next 3 months will show.
Thank you, Byron. You also talked about the cash flow from the gold production will be financing the exploration. So what will be the exploration focus for 2023?
The exploration focus will be obviously adding very cheap ounces, which is the JORC compliant resource that we've identified at Mount Sheolite. That's oxide gold. It's shallow. It's very similar to Mount Sheolite, which we're mining now. But as we said, and what the stock when it ripped up to 6 cents was on the back of that Mount Sheolite result. We've done a lot more work on it, and it needs a lot more drilling. But we really believe that's where a much bigger source is, where we can find a company defining deposit, which is where I'm very excited to get the drill rig back down there very quickly.
Thank you, Brian. Time for just one more. So with Lorena acting as a processing hub, is there a possibility to undertake processing for other companies in the region for a fee, of course, but is there a possibility?
Absolutely. Where we can not only process other people's ore, but it also allows us to take opportunities to buy cheap ounces to increase our dual compliant resource, because we're the only processing facility there which has capacity in the area. So as everyone's seen up there, AIC made a bid for Demetallica. There's a lot of consolidation starting to happening in Cloncurry, and having Lorena is a real asset to us. I didn't mention earlier, another good component of Lorena is that its gold room and its elution circuit has a large capacity, which will also allow us to not have to put a gold room at the VAT, saving us circa $2 million in a 13-month wait. So it was a really pivotal move for Tombola Gold, and it's really set us up for a very exciting 2023.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us, Byron. A great presentation as always, and we look forward to further updates.
Thanks for having me, Jane.